Hi everybody, welcome to today's FindTheBestCarPrice.com video. Today we're going to look at the 2021 Ford Ecosport, the SE trim level. The sticker price on this model is $23,190. Let's get started with our tour.
And one thing that it definitely has going for it, well, a couple of things. Number one, it has above average cargo space for its class, a subcompact crossover SUV. And something else that I know from previous EcoSport videos that I've done in the past that entices a lot of people to say, I'd rather have the EcoSport above some of its competitors, is the fact that it does not have that single-speed CVT. Instead, it has a 6-speed automatic transmission. We'll talk a little bit more about what's under the hood and the two different engine options and all that stuff shortly. One other thing that I do find interesting here is that out of all the available trim levels, every single trim level, and I'll list all of those on the screen and their base prices, is available with either front-wheel drive or you could order it all-wheel drive. For those who are wondering, the exterior color is called Smoke Metallic. Of course, you've got auto halogen headlights. As you can see, you've got the turn signal indicator here. This is a fog light right here, so you've got those fog lights. And one of the advantages to a smaller vehicle like this being available in all-wheel drive, of course, it is a crossover, so that means a crossover is basically a car sitting at SUV ride height. So it's sitting a little bit higher up off the ground, and being that it is available on all trim levels with all-wheel drive. For those of you who live in a climate where it snows consistently throughout the winter, especially if you're in Colorado, here it is in mid-May or early May, I guess right now when I'm filming, and it's still snowing at certain altitudes up there, well, an all-wheel drive vehicle is definitely helpful. We don't usually deal with that kind of thing down here in the South, but when we do, it's good to have an SUV with all-wheel drive. Now, one of the interesting features that I found on the window sticker is that there are active grille shutters here, something you would normally see on a high-performance vehicle more often than something like this. And while the words high performance and Ford EcoSport are likely to never be associated, I don't know, somebody out there might be wild enough to try and squeeze as much horsepower as they possibly can out of one of the two engine options available. If you do, make a YouTube video out of it and make sure to send me the link. And just as there are two drive configurations, front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, you also have two engine options available. You've got the 1-liter 3-cylinder. That's right, guys. It is a 3-cylinder. And I'll put the horsepower numbers and all that stuff on the screen. You also have an available 2-liter 4-cylinder. It's going to make more horsepower, of course, depending on what you want. I would probably recommend going with that 2-liter because it's definitely going to make more horsepower. But here's the big advantage to the 3-cylinder, that 1-liter engine that this model has. I'm very interested to get this out on the road and see how it performs. It should be interesting. Good thing it has hill start assist. That is probably necessary more on this model than on any model with the larger of the two engine options, not that either's that big. And of course, the 6-speed automatic transmission is standard no matter which engine option you go with. But the advantage here, gas mileage, 27 miles per gallon city, 29 miles per gallon highway, a combined total of 28. At least that's what Ford has listed on the window sticker. So if you own an EcoSport that has this 1-liter 3-cylinder engine under the hood, tell me what kind of gas mileage numbers you are getting if you're keeping up with it. And one more thing before I forget. I forgot to mention it earlier when we were talking about headlights and fog lights and all that kind of stuff. If I don't mention this, someone always asks, and I assume they don't live here in Northwest Louisiana because most people around here would never care about this option. Does it have the turn signal indicators built into the side view mirrors? Yes, it does. Now, unless you're somebody who just likes the way that looks, you don't actually plan on using your blinkers, good on you for wanting to know, because that would mean you use a feature that so few people around here like to use. Now, when it comes to the rear area back here, you do have a bit of a roof spoiler. I guess that's what you would call that. It does help to channel the air over the rear window, but if it happens to get dirty, you do have the rear window wiper antenna up there and roof rails as well. Now, one thing that I like here, a lot of people might not like this feature. Tell me down in the comments what you prefer. Instead of having a lift gate, this actually swings open. And the good news about that, once you figure out how to open it, if you're looking for a button back here where you would normally expect it, that's not where it is. It's actually right here. It's part of the taillight housing back here, right here under this piece of trim. There is a button right there. And here's something interesting that I discovered here. It will open up a little bit and get to a point, and then you can open it a little bit more and it'll finish opening for you. If you watch me regularly, you know I like to see the struts that help raise the hood on vehicles so you don't have to find that stand and manually put in place. And that's essentially what we have right here, is one of those struts that helps to open this door. And like I said, once you get it to a certain point, it just kind of takes over and opens it for you all the way. And I like the fact that since we're in America and we have a left steer vehicle, if you're in a loading zone and you're loading with the above average cargo space compared to its competitors with the EcoSport, well, it's a good thing that the door swings out to the left, because that way you're not going to have everything in the way with the door right here. You also have another interesting feature here that's not exclusive to this model, but I do think that, well, maybe it could have its advantages. Kind of a shelving situation here with the floor. You've got 3 different positions you can put that floor in depending on what you want to do. I'm not sure exactly what the advantages of that would be, but it is there if you need it. You also have a cargo cover right here that's a multitasker. Why is it a multitasker? Well, if I was out with my EcoSport and it was time for lunch and it was a nice day like it is here in Northwest Louisiana today, well, I could use this as a table. It's the perfect height. Put your drink there, your plate of whatever you're eating, or your takeout box, or whatever the case may be, and well, there you go. And of course, you're going to maximize your cargo space by lowering down those rear seats. And one thing I did notice here, does it make a difference? They don't necessarily lay completely flat, so that does kind of take away a small amount of space. Not much, but does that make a difference to you if you're planning to be an owner, or maybe you already are? What have your experiences been? And before anybody blows up the comments section asking, what does the underside of an EcoSport look like? Okay, nobody's likely to even ask, but in case you're curious, here you go. And while there's not a whole lot to report back here in the back seat, you can kind of see the space that I have. The driver's seat is back kind of far, so that definitely makes a difference. At 5'10", I would definitely want to be sitting in the front. The kids definitely would be comfortable back here. You do have a fold-down armrest with built-in cup holders, of course. But one thing I did not expect to find back here that you don't necessarily see in all competitors of the EcoSport is a 110-volt power outlet. No USB ports or anything like that back here, but you do have some options with that 110. And as I hop here into the front seat, here is what your remote looks like, just so you know. That's the remote for this EcoSport. And one thing I want to make sure I cover here, you do have a sunroof. It's probably one of the smallest sunroofs I've ever seen, but for a vehicle of this size, I guess that fits. You do have push button start here for that 1-liter 3-cylinder engine. And just to give you a quick look around here, of course, another thing, I talked about there's 2 engine options. You do have the 2 options for putting power to the ground through front wheel drive and all-wheel drive across all trim levels. And something else that's available on all trim levels of the EcoSport, it's right here. the turn signal stalk. It activates those blinkers that I kind of mentioned earlier. And if you don't know how that works, when you push that into the up position, you hear that clicking sound. There's an arrow, a green arrow pulsing to the right. That means that you're changing lanes to the right or turning right. Or if you're doing the same to the left, you push it into the down position, and what that does is it lets the drivers around you know what your intentions are. I hope the person that was pulling the trailer behind the Chevrolet 2500 on the way over here is watching this video, because you need it. Oh, sorry, let me get back on track here. Now, I can't say anything about what's here on the right-hand side of the steering wheel, but that's how you control the windshield wipers. Steering wheel mounted controls, of course. You've got cruise control, voice commands, all the typical stuff you would expect here. You can answer to hang up on phone calls to give you a quick look at the dashboard. And even though there's not a lot here to talk about, well, a few years ago, well, now quite a few years ago, most people wouldn't have thought about this kind of technology in an SUV of this size. Of course, you've got the Sync 3 infotainment system, something very easy to use, navigation. You can pair your phone to that. A lot of different features and functionality there, quite a bit actually. For a vehicle that comes in a little under $26,000 on the sticker, well, that's not bad. Single zone climate control, and something that I learned earlier this year on another vehicle I did, because it was something that people had asked for apparently. You have knobs here to control volume, to change radio stations, and of course you can do all that through the infotainment screen as well. But apparently people really like that, because Honda actually added a knob to the 2021 version of the Ridgeline right in this area, because apparently people have been asking for that and it hadn't been there in the last few years. So very interesting to know. And like I said, you got single zone climate control in a cabin this size. Not having dual zone climate control or even tri-zone, probably not a real issue. You don't have air conditioning vents for the rear seat passengers, but there's more than enough capability with this AC to take care of things. And of course, you've got dual USB ports right here. You can charge your phone, all that good stuff, and a 12-volt power outlet right here beside the shifter. And by the way, you'll notice no steering wheel paddle shifters. Well, that doesn't mean you don't have a sport mode. You can pull the shifter all the way back to S. And there is a toggle on the side of the shifter on the driver's side, the left side, where the driver can shift manually if they want to and try and feel as sporty as possible with that 3-cylinder, 1-liter turbocharged engine under the hood. I might even try that later on the test drive. And something that I love to do, if you want to save some money on your Ecosport or any vehicle, turn that auto stop start feature off. I like to do that. Why would you do that? How does that save money on your vehicle by turning that off? Because you reduce the use on the starter for the engine. Every time you come to a stop and the engine has to be restarted, whether it's because you sat there long enough and the air conditioning system sensed that the temperature went up, it'll actually restart the engine when that happens in a lot of vehicles. I haven't tested that here, so I don't know if that's the case or not. But that basically, every time the engine restarts, you're using up the starter that much more. Just something to think about. You know, you might save a few drops in gas by leaving it on, and some people might just like to. I don't know. The lid for the console actually doubles as an armrest for the driver and passenger here. And if you look inside there, there is a little built-in tray that you can remove, kind of an insert, and maximize your space inside of the console. Once you get used to getting that in and out, it's actually pretty easy. But as funny as it sounds, the most anticipation I've had of this particular vehicle is to get out on the road and see exactly how it performs. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but we're going to do a test drive. All right, guys, let's get out on the road and see how the Ecosport performs. I'm going to hit the gas pedal here. As you can see, the speed limit is 65 miles an hour. You should be able to see that in the shot. We just passed the speed limit signs, and I am at 65 miles an hour now. Okay, and you know what? It's not terrible. You know, obviously I'm not on a road with a lot of hills and all that stuff, nothing real steep at least. So trying hill start assist, well, we definitely can't do that. But I have to say, not too bad on acceleration. I didn't bring the draggy today because I really wasn't planning on doing a 0 to 60 pull with an Ecosport. Probably the only person on YouTube to ever do that. If I did, I'll see if I can dig up the numbers as far as what Ford says the 1-liter 3-cylinder will do 0 to 60. Maybe I'll put it for both engine combinations. But I have to say, it wasn't bad as far as accelerating up to highway speed where we are right now. But keep in mind, I am alone, no cargo, no passengers. What would the difference be? Well, there's a lot of different answers to that question depending on how much weight you're talking about. Now, as we drive over this little bridge right here and over this patch of road that's been repaired over the years, I must say, I read a lot of reviews on this vehicle that said the ride was pretty choppy, and I must say, yes, I definitely noticed some bumps in the road. The wheelbase, of course, being as short as it is, a shorter wheelbase is definitely going to make for a little bit more of a rigid ride, but it's really not too terribly bad. It's easily bearable. It's not that bad. In fact, one thing I like to point out when it comes to people who review vehicles like this for a living, you have to consider what their typical daily driving experience is. What are they used to? So they might tell you that something rides really, really rough when maybe it doesn't. If you hopped in it, it might not be the case. Now I'm going to drop down into sport mode and see if that makes a difference. Not really. Can't really tell a difference in sport mode. But I'll tell you what, if you're looking for an SUV that's easy to get around in, I don't really need a lot of cargo space. Maybe you're not hauling a lot of cargo or people around during your commute during the week. Well, this may be a really good option to consider. And if you're considering an Ecosport, tell me exactly what is it that will cause you to make a decision of yay or nay.
To learn more about the model in today's video, visit the link in the description for a detailed comparison between trims and pricing for the vehicle we featured or any other vehicle you are interested in. These pages feature information such as our recommended trim level based on price, value, and features. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. We look forward to seeing you next time.